Buenos dias. Good morning. I retired as mayor in 2006, and this is a wonderful community that we live in, and I'm so very proud to be a part of it. And another person that's a part of our community is Judge Teresa Guerrero-Daley, and she's going to be speaking to you, and I want to just give you a little bit of information about her background. As I said, she lives in Morgan Hill. Judge Guerrero-Daley is a Superior Court judge in the state of California, County of Santa Clara. She was the first elected Latina to the Superior Court in Santa Clara County. She's been assigned to hear criminal, civil, and juvenile cases from arraignment to trial. Currently, she provides over felony trials. Prior to becoming a judge, she served as an executive officer for the city of San Jose. She was appointed by the mayor of San Jose and the city council as the first independent public auditor, where she was responsible for providing public policy in the area of public safety. She earned international recognition for developing policing guidelines that improved effectiveness and accountability in law enforcement. As a trial attorney, Judge Guerrero-Daley was in private practice. She also served as an arbitrator deciding consumer versus auto manufacturing cases. She was also certified as a mediator in conflict resolution. Judge Guerrero-Daley was the first female special agent for the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration assigned to San Jose. As a special agent, she worked on numerous undercover operations which involved enforcement of local, state, and federal laws involving the illegal sale, transportation, importation, and manufacturing of dangerous drugs and narcotics. On a personal note, I've known Judge Daley for quite some time. She has been, as I said, a judge for 8 years now. And I remember when she was first running for office, and I helped her with her campaign. She was like, any one of you, you can achieve what you want to achieve if you just decide to do it. So it is my pleasure to introduce to you Judge Teresa Guerrero-Daley.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Buenos días, estudiantes, padres y familia. I want to take this opportunity to thank Ms. Claudia Rossi and all of you that have worked hard to organize this very important event. There's nothing more important, in my opinion, than our education. I want to share with you how my life was changed through education and the support from my family, teachers, and community. As you heard earlier, I am a Superior Court judge. So let me share with you the lessons I have learned in my journey to becoming a judge. I believe that the adversity I faced in life early on prepared me to become a better judge. I was born to immigrant parents from Mexico. My parents, like so many others, came here in search for a better life. I am one of 7 children. My parents only had a 3rd grade education and never learned to speak English. I recall that when we moved to California from Texas, because my father had lost his job, we took only a few belongings with us. We basically moved in what could fit in the 2 family cars. Everything we owned was left. However, my parents made sure that the World Book Encyclopedia that we had did not stay behind. They knew that in those books was wisdom that their children would need. At that time, we obviously didn't have the internet. We still had to go to the hardbound books. We moved to a community in Visalia, a community where the expectation was that most children didn't graduate beyond middle school. At the age of 13, I learned what hard work was. That's when we moved here to California. I was 13 when I started working, picking tomatoes. I would work from sunrise to sunset, in heat over 100 degrees. I went to bed wishing most nights that all of the tomato vines would wither and die. So that as of today, I just don't eat tomatoes. I don't like anything about them. At that young age, I had no idea what I wanted to do, what kind of work I would do when I would grow up. But I can tell you, I learned real quick what kind of work I did not want to do. During my sophomore year in high school, I dropped out of school and ran away with my boyfriend. I was 16 when I gave birth to my first son. As a high school dropout, my employment opportunities were obviously very limited. I worked in many jobs that did not pay much, and it was very hard and back-breaking work. I went from job to job, living from paycheck to paycheck. I recall that when I would fill out job applications, I had nothing to put in that big white space that called for education. There was no space, nor do I think they were interested that I had graduated from middle school. By the age of 23, I had 3 children and a failing marriage. It was very difficult for me to support my children, earning minimum wages. I enrolled in a continuation school and earned a high school diploma. It was at that continuation school that I met 2 wonderful teachers that changed my life. They encouraged me to enroll in a community college. They believed in me when no one else did. So that I want to publicly thank those teachers, the staff that works in our school, everyone that takes part in our education, because I feel the utmost gratitude, respect, and support for our teachers. And so at this time, I'm going to ask you, are there any teachers in the audience? If you are, raise your hand. Like I said, I have the utmost respect for all of you. Thank you. I earned an associate's degree from the College of Sequoias, a bachelor's degree from San Jose State University, and a law degree from Lincoln University. It took me 15 years from when I first went back to school to the day I graduated and passed the bar. Doors began to open for me. I was hired, as you heard earlier, by the U.S. Department of Justice as a special agent. What I would like to share is that out of 60,000 applicants nationwide, I was one of 40. And so that was the first very significant job that I had where my education really paid off, as having a bachelor's degree was a minimum qualification. I was very successful as an undercover agent because drug dealers couldn't figure out, they couldn't believe that, a woman so short, could be an agent. And I remember that as I would arrest them and I was handcuffing them, they would turn at me and they say, "Are you too short to be an agent?" Well, there was a time when short people couldn't take certain positions in law enforcement, but it just so happened that in the middle 60s, that changed, so that by the 70s, there were women now and short men that were able to be agents. After law school, I set up my own practice, and because there were so few Spanish-speaking lawyers, I had a very successful practice. So for those of you students that speak another language, that speak Spanish, don't lose that ability. It will open doors. In 1993, Mayor Susan Hammer and the San Jose City Council appointed me as the first independent police auditor. I was in charge of overseeing the investigations of police officers alleging brutality and misconduct. It was a position that allowed me to travel to many other states and help establish their own office. I was also invited by governments from other countries to come and speak and do training for their military and local police. These included Mexico, Canada, and Brazil, among others. Then in 2004, I ran for a judicial seat in this county. I was the first Latina to be elected judge in Santa Clara County. And I recall that one of my advisors, not Dennis Kennedy, but another advisor told me, Teresa, drop the Guerrero, run as Teresa Daley. You may not be elected with a Guerrero surname. And I thought about it, I slept over it, and I came back and I told him, no, that's who I am. If Santa Clara County is not ready for a Latina judge, then it wasn't meant for me to be. So with proud, all of my campaign literature read Teresa Guerrero-Daley. I am still humbled every time I enter my courtroom. I put on my robe. And as I cross the threshold, the deputy announces, all rise, the Honorable Teresa Guerrero-Daley, now presiding. As a reminder of my journey, I keep in my chambers a newspaper article about my life, which I have framed. And the caption reads, "From high school dropout to your honor." Ladies and gentlemen, this conference is called No Excuses, because we as parents and community must take personal ownership for the education of our students. We cannot deflect this responsibility. No longer can we afford to delay or ignore our duty to actively participate in the education of our children. We parents are the greatest influence in the lives of our children. Our mantra should be, yes, we can. Sí se puede. No longer should Latino children be last in the percentage of the number that are graduating from high school and college. No longer is it acceptable to have our jails, our prisons, overflowing with Latinos. It is in colleges that we should be overrepresented, not in places like prison. However, I do want to also reflect on some very positive things that show some of the sacrifices and the victories that we don't know because they're not things that are found in the textbooks that our children read. I'll give you an example, in the hopes that this example will be something, a story that you will pass on from generation to generation. Because like I said, even I, as a lawyer, as a judge, I didn't know. Most people in the legal community and in the education community have heard about a case known as a U.S. Supreme Court, in a U.S. Supreme Court decision, the case titled Brown versus Board of Education. Because in 1954, this decision ended segregation in schools throughout the country. What most people don't know, as I said, even lawyers and judges, is that before Brown versus Board of Education came about, there was a case called Mendez versus Westminster. In 1946, 5 Mexican families challenged the practice of segregation in Orange County. Children of Mexican ancestry were forced to attend separate schools just for Mexicans and were denied entrance to Westminster public schools, even though this Mendez family and 5 others lived close to the Westminster schools. It was this victory in the Mendez case that led to the governor ending segregation in all our schools in our state of California. And it was this case, the Mendez case, that laid the foundation for the future landmark case of Brown versus Board of Education. On February 15, 2011, President Barack Obama awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom to Sylvia Mendez, the daughter of Gonzalo Mendez, who was a lead plaintiff in the lawsuit. Sylvia, along with her 2 brothers, were some of the Mexican-American students who were denied admission to their local Westminster school. Ladies and gentlemen, we cannot take for granted the sacrifices and opportunities that many people before us have fought and even died for. We right here are raising our future leaders. And I hope to live long enough so that I can see our first Latino president be elected in this country. But in order for that to happen, parents, students, teachers, community, we need to join hands in declaring an end to children dropping out of school, to apathy towards funding education, to making excuses as to why many of our Latino children are being left behind. Education is the greatest equalizer and indicator of the quality of life our children will have. Every day before I enter my courtroom, I pray for wisdom in deciding the cases before me. Humility in knowing that I stand on the shoulders of people that have sacrificed and have come before me. I know that I enjoy those opportunities that have benefited my family, but I also know and feel a sense of obligation that when I see people gathered today, which I know, some people left golf games they would like to be at. Perhaps some of us would have liked to have been sleeping a little bit later, but you're here, I'm here. And that tells me that we care. And it's the power of the one combined with others that will be instrumental in changing the direction of our education. And finally, every day before crossing the threshold of my courtroom, I pray that justice is served. I pray that I hear cases, that I have compassion for the victims and for those who have committed errors. And I pray that justice is served to all those people that come and seek the protection of our courts. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been my pleasure to be here with you this morning. I wish you a very successful conference